What's up, guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to be doing another 1,000 round review, this time on a pretty interesting pistol. This is the CZ P10 F Competition Ready. Now, before we do that, as always, I want to mention the Patreon supporters. Because you guys, I can afford this gun. I bought this gun with the Patreon dollars. So, big thanks. If you want to help out the channel, all you got to do is go down to the link in the description, sign up for Patreon. Also, there is a link to a local homeless shelter in the description as well. If you don't want to do Patreon, that's fine. But please go down there and go donate to the kids. They could use your help. So, with that being said, let's take a look at the CZ P10 F Competition. A gun that I have been looking forward to for some time, without knowing it's actually showing up. Sometimes they make long slide guns, sometimes they don't, and if you're a fan of the channel, you know that I am a fan of any type of long slide gun. I like a longer sight radius when I'm running iron sights. I like more accuracy with those iron sights when I can get it. This one obviously has an optics mount, which kind of negates the sight radius, but it doesn't negate the recoil reduction, and it doesn't negate the bullet expansion from the added velocity that you get from a 5-inch barrel. Now, this is a 5-inch striker-fired polymer frame pistol. This is the P10F right here that we're going to use as a comparison. Also, the venerable P10C and P10S, and then like the P10M or something that I keep hearing about. But there's quite a few guns now in the P10 family, and I think that's for good reason, because overall they're a pretty excellent design. There's some pros and cons of this particular model that we're going to get into here, so we might as well get into the features of this gun that the standard F doesn't have. So as you can see here, the barrel length is significantly different. The P10F, the P10 full size here, is a 4.5-inch barrel. This has the full 5-inch barrel, which again, I prefer. It also has some advanced cuts on the side here, which is visually pleasing, also functional. So you can come up here like this and you can run the slide from the front, and you ask why you would want to do that, and it's because since this is optics ready, if there's a big optic here, there's a lot smaller space, especially on guns like CZs that have very small slides, and lot less space here to run the slide without damaging or interrupting your optic. So that's one thing you have to remember, that this actually is really functional when you add a red dot on the rear. Deeper serrations here, it looks, than on the standard model, at least for my particular gun. So it is even more functional in that regard. We also have some slide milling right here. And we also have some on the other side as well, which I have to assume lowers the reciprocating mass. So one thing you have to remember with long slide guns is that sometimes you don't get less recoil, sometimes you just get less muzzle flip. If they can lower the slide reciprocating mass to the same as the standard model, but having it be longer, that adds weight out on the front, which lowers the muzzle flip while maintaining the same mass going rearward, equaling lower muzzle flip. However, if they add mass to the slide, it doesn't just add mass out here, but it adds mass back here, so you end up getting kind of a chunky recoil impulse like in the FN509 Edge or some other guns that have a higher, bigger, thicker slide like the P320 series, for example. Once they do a longer slide and then they continue to mill out and keep it the same weight, then you get a lower reciprocating mass like this gun here, and it does shoot a little bit quicker, which we will show on the footage. That's very nice. We have a Picatinny rail mount down there at the bottom for lights and lasers, as you would expect for any gun that's even remotely defensive or competitive, considering competitions do happen at night on occasion. We have an HB Industries trigger here, which we'll get into here in a minute. Tin barrel on the top here, extended apex slide release slide lock, which is pretty cool. I think that's the apex. I'm not really sure. Maybe that's CZ standard, but this is an extended apex magazine release, and it looks awfully familiar to the one I already have in my P10F, so obviously that is a good aftermarket upgrade for me personally. I don't want it too big to where I'm accidentally hitting magazines, but I want it big enough to where I can hit it easily and eject the magazine without changing my firing grip, so obviously magazine changes are faster and you look cooler on Instagram and that kind of thing. Trigger undercut and everything is the same, but still excellent, and then the front is serrated as well with these checkered spots here for your thumb, which I like a lot. That's a big advantage to the P10 series, that you can use that to drive with your thumb. Now, the extended slide release is essentially just a place for me to fuck up my slide lock, because I shoot 1911 CZ75s, lots of older guns that have a manual safety, and I do prefer that, especially in competition, because I use it as a gas pedal. Well, I inadvertently do that when it comes to striker-fired guns with big slide releases, and I think a lot of people do as well. That being said, if you change your battery of arms and just know to run the slide every time you reload, that becomes a non-issue essentially. But if you are a slide lock, hit the slide release kind of guy, I do that technique as well. I'm versed in a lot of different techniques, but I get the opportunity to shoot a lot. Just make sure you pick the technique that works best for you in whichever slide release, slide lock, or whatever controls for that matter that your gun has. The same reloading process doesn't work for an HK-MP5 that it works for an AR-15, so obviously handguns will vary as well, and that's just something that you have to understand. We also have a gold serrated backplate here with a red fiber optic and a blacked out rear with the ears cut off. These sights are absolutely excellent, and that's one of the reasons why we ran iron sights through the review. I was interested in trying the optic mounting system, but I've heard that it's really, really good, and honestly I don't have any optics free from any other review guns right now, and this is a long slide, and I haven't ran an iron sight gun long slide in quite a while, and I had a lot of fun doing so. I used to shoot a Glock 34 in competition all the time, and this reminded me a lot of that with a better trigger. Well, not this trigger, which we'll get into, but these sights were absolutely excellent, and it literally made me not care about the optics mount at all. That's how good the damn sights actually are, and then you don't add weight, and you don't add any bumfuckery that can happen with an optic. And if you don't think any bumfuckery can happen with an optic, you're absolutely wrong. I've had rounds get stuck in the front of the hood of the optic. I've had the optic change the weight of the slide, so some ammo didn't work. I've had debris get in optics that will obscure your vision completely, where you've been way better off with iron sights. Now, don't get me wrong, there's advantages to red dots. Obviously, one point of aim makes you much more accurate. It's easier to threat focus, all the good stuff that comes in optic. Just remember, there is some stuff that is not so good that comes with it as well, along with the added cost of a quality optic being about $500. So, good iron sights is a good thing out of the box. Now, we have some texture down here that's the exact same texture, in my opinion, as the standard model, and then we have a backstrap here, which is one of 3 that you get with the gun. I went with the larger one because of the big old bear claws. So overall, I think that some of these accessories are really good. I think some of these upgrades are really good, and I think some are needless, and I think some are a little overpriced. But before we get to that, we'll go to the reliability of the gun, because I think that's what you guys really care about. The reliability of the gun was absolutely excellent. We shot 1,000 rounds through the gun. Well, I actually think we ended up around 960, but I figured it was close enough. We shot no defensive ammo whatsoever through this gun. Sorry about that. I normally do that, but ammo prices being what they are, and I couldn't get a hold of any, so I just didn't shoot any through this, but I'm sure it'll run just fine. This one did, and so did the P10C. The exact same operating system, so I have to assume it's going to be just fine. But you might want to check maybe another review, or, you know, just go and try it yourself. You should always try your defensive ammo yourself to begin with, because if I shoot critical defense for this and you shoot Hornady, whatever else, or you shoot HTP or anything like that, you could have different reliability than I do, and you could change reliability from model to model. So make sure that if you are running this for defensive purposes, you do test your defensive ammo and zero your optic to your ammo if you do have an optic. The reliability was excellent. We shot 115 grain Fiocchi, 115 grain remanufactured Phoenix ammunition. We shot Great Lakes 115 grain. Sorry, I'm looking at my ammo. I piled it up here next to me. And we shot Federal training and defense ammunition through this. So we shot a variety of rounds, which is good, partly because we had a hard time finding ammo, but partly because I like to do that to see which ammunition functions well in the gun, and they all function. So overall, worked pretty good. The accuracy of the gun was really good with that lower. So during the course of the review, I got tired of this lower. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, because I do like the slide release, slide lock feature. However, this has Talon grips on it, which I like so much more. And it also has my trigger, which has been broken in somewhere 2,000 to 2,500 rounds. And the trigger in this gun out of the box is better than the competition trigger. This HB Industries trigger is trash. All right, now at the 10-yard line with the competition ready P10 F. I don't like that trigger. My other trigger is so much better. Shoot with gloves too, which I haven't done in a while. Just fucking around, but usually I shoot pretty well with gloves. Yeah, the cadence is fire is a lot slower with this than with my standard because of the trigger. I don't know what they did to increase the pull weight, but this is about 2 pounds heavier than this one. And this is supposed to be the upgraded competition trigger. So if HP Industries wants to put a gun in a CZ, well, that's amazing, but you at least have to be as good as the standard trigger, which in my opinion, it's not. It's not serrated, number one. It is gold, which looks cool and all. You know, if you're a fan of like James Bond or Austin Powers or something, I like the gold and black too, but it's not cool enough to change functionality. So better trigger in the stock model, that's a big loss to me, and that's one of the biggest problems I have with this gun. So I was seeing a decrease in accuracy due to the heavier trigger. Not much, but some compared to the standard model, and since this gun is twice as much, I fucking ditched this really fast. I put it on my lower, and I ended up shooting like this. I can show you, actually, because the guns are really easy to take apart, obviously. Check that one. And I ended up shooting at least the POV portion, the first shots portion, or sorry, the shred portion with this trigger, because I prefer this trigger. Internals being what they are, this trigger is the exact same in this gun, and it shot really well like this with my Talon grips, and this was the configuration that I preferred, because it was the same old that I'm used to with my light and all that, because this is one of my home defense guns, but then I got the added bonus of having the longer slide with the cool serrations, and then the dual tone look anyway, maybe not on the trigger, but on the slide, and this gun is almost perfect in my opinion in this complete configuration here. This gun would have been perfect if they would have just had a less shitty trigger in it to begin with. So I'll convert it back here and we'll talk a little bit more about the gun, but I just wanted to let you know that bias aside, I believe that maybe this gun is a little overpriced, which we might as well get into now. So the accuracy on the gun was really good because the barrel is a cold hammer forged barrel. It's a 5-inch long slide gun with great sights, but the trigger lacks a little bit. Even still, we could hit it 100 yards with it because, I mean, it's a CZ, so even though I'm ragging on it a little bit, it's still an impressive design. Overall, I think for the money, the gun is a little bit overpriced. You look at this gun, you can find this one here, put together, of course, for about $400 to $500, maybe even $600, depending on where you look. This gun is $1,000 bucks, $1,000 to $1,100. So you're talking about twice as much money for 0.5 inches of barrel is what you get, right? Extra serrations, tin barrel, which literally does nothing for you, trigger, which literally does nothing for you, backplate, which does nothing for you, and extended slide lock, slide release, which makes sure your mags don't lock back on the last round fired, especially if you have bigger thumbs like I do. So do I think that it's worth the money? No. I don't. I think that they should have this model, and I think that they should sell the standard with a long slide and with these serrations for like maybe $200 extra, and they would have had a hell of a sale in their hands. You know, something like Glock does with the 34. Glock doesn't sell their Glock 34 for $500 more than their Glock 17, right? So I think CZ should do the same thing as Glock, and I think they should offer a long slide model, and then with just limited upgrades, and then you can go from there, and maybe they will do that in the future. That being said, I think it's a great gun. It was reliable, it was accurate, the ergonomics are on point, the grip feels really good, the borax is extremely high, the gun shoots super quick, and it feels extremely comfortable. I just wish it had more texture and a better trigger. But other than that, it's a pretty fantastic gun. If you like how it looks, it's probably worth $1,000 to you because it's really the only way you can get a long slide currently. But for the average person who's just looking to get into whatever gun, this is probably not the gun for you. But if you're a big CZ P10 fan and you want a little something extra, you know, a little extra 0.5 inches, it's a really good option. Oh, I also forgot to mention it comes with 3 magazines, which is pretty cool, and it does have a 19+1 capacity, giving it 20 rounds. So there's that afterthought after the video is over. I should have mentioned that, and obviously the magazines are compatible as well, but there you go. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters. Remember to recycle. I'll check you later.